But before then, I welcome you all to the Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment. Before I talk, let us have the prayer first. Then we will do the introduction of the participant. Then I will come back to the document. We have got like response and set the national anthem. It stands up. After the count of three. 1, 2, 3. Oh, creation. One largest. And of the nations. The progress. That he has generally blessed. Oh. What do you want? What do you want? We'll start with you. Protection. That we introduce ourselves first. Yeah. Where will I start? From right, or from my left, this way. Whatever. Let me start with. Let me be. Yes. Yeah, please.
Good morning, all. Can you all hear me? Good morning, everyone. My name is Chizoba Dwelvin. I'm a deputy director and I work for NAFDAC. I'm in charge of the trade officer of international strategic partnerships and trade at NAFDAC. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rohani Suleiman, Assistant Controller at the Nigerian Customs Service with the Trade Facilitation Unit. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Oshegun. I'm an Assistant Manager of the Bank of Industry.
Good morning, all. I'm Additional Ayodele, Deputy Director, Planning Research and Statistics, Federal Ministry of Works.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bashir Imam. I work in Nexen Bank, Assistant Manager.
Good morning, everybody. Henry One from Culture and Development of Society, as well as the General Secretary.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ayo Ibibasho, Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment, ICT.
Good morning, all. My name is Isle Wena from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Economic Trade and Investment Department.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bamisha Yawali from Federal Business Service.
Morning, all. My name is Patricia Odu. I'm with the ICLC, the Resource Department.
Good morning. My name is Zayed Yazid, Nigeria Export Processing Authority, Investment Promotion and Investor Services Department.
Good morning, everyone. My name is David Etienne. I'm the Project Implementation Team Leader of the Calabar Gulf of Guinea Municipal Trade Center, and I'm the reason why we're all gathered in this room. Thank you. And sorry for coming a bit late. I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Aisha, the ADFR from the Federal Ministry of Investment.
My name is Mary Kate Edmond from Federal Ministry of Industry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Raymond John from Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment. City Parks. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Faith Ibrahim, the Federal Produce Inspection Service, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Florence Apeji, Federal Ministry of Industry and Investment.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chukwu Mohamed from Tropical Department, Tropical Trade, from the Tropical Branch, Trade Department.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Hadi James, I'm a student of the Police Officer at the Nigerian Customs.
Good morning, Lord. I'm Michael Odiasi, Monetary Solutions Nigeria. I'm the technical manager of the Northern Region.
Good morning, once again. Welcome to the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment for this meeting. My name is Leka Abdullahi, the Deputy Director with the Trade Department in charge of WTO and African issues within the department. I'm so sorry. I will start by apologizing for my principal's inability to be in this meeting, who is the permanent secretary of the ministry, who wanted to preside over this very important meeting, but unfortunately, because of other official instances elsewhere out of the country, that's what makes him not to be here to preside over. And another issue was that the acting permanent secretary also wanted to be here to chair this meeting, but unfortunately, we called him because there was training, director's training elsewhere within Abuja here. So he is presenting the permanent secretary, so he need to run back to that place. So I'm so sorry for that. Also, the director of trade is also there for the training. So most of the directors were. So, and our inability to be here, at least some of us got there, especially the uniform people, they don't waste time. As they said, time is always precious to everybody. So the uniform, they are here even before now. Mr. Mohammed, sorry for that. We apologize for that.
No problem.
I know they told me when I was on my way that then customs are already gone. So everyone that comes before us, our apology to this. Next time, we will not do that. Okay. So the permanent secretary asked me to say something just briefly to you, which I don't know his mind, but he said whatever I should please say it verbally. So it is now my great pleasure to extend a very warm welcome to each and every one of you once again. Your presence today is a clear indication of our collective commitment to shared vision for Nigeria and for the African country. So, on behalf of my principal, the permanent secretary of the ministry, I thank you for honoring our invitation, which is quoting his words. He says, thank you all for honoring this invitation today. As you know, we have gathered today here to discuss an initiative that holds immense promise for our nation and for the realization of the after the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea Municipal and Trade Center, which is more than just a project. It is a foundational pillar for a new era of intra-African commerce. So with that, I believe this initiative is our strategic response to the call for a more interconnected, self-reliant, and prosperous Africa. But for all this, I think you will tell us today whether what we are saying is true or not, and the organizers think that. Over the course of today's discussions, we will delve into the details of this ambitious plan, a plan that seeks to liberate Nigeria's strategic position to create a foothold for industries, a seamless channel for trade, and a catalyst for regional economic growth. Today, we are confident that through collaborative efforts, we can unlock the full potential of the project and set a new standard for continental integration. To our distinguished participants and guests, to our partners from the private sector, I believe there is some from the private sector, and to all the dedicated individuals that we are here who have contributed to this vision. I thank you for your unwavering support. That's the word of the permanent secretary said I should make sure that it comes through for all your supports. I'm also confident that the insights and perspective shared today will be invaluable as you move this project forward. So, sisters, brothers, colleagues, these fans, well, I wish you all a very productive and insightful hour that you spend here in the course of discussions and of our important issue today. I thank you. So the floor is now. So would that be good one else?
The secretary.
The representative of the, I think the secretary of the government person that speaks.
It's on his way here. His way here.
So we will skip that.
We'll skip
Because we
it.
cannot.
Exactly. When he comes here, we can then step back to him. But you guys can proceed.
So who is going to prevent the project?
Me.
So if there's no, what I said, if we can adopt the agenda, sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, my colleagues.
I
Okay, thank you.
Yes, next agenda is the presentation of the project overview.
Because we have to skip that of Cross Rivers.
Yes.
Second.
Yes.
This is.
He's on his way anyway. Well, good morning again.
But he's not here.
I agree. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said earlier, my name is David Etienne. I am the project implementation team leader of the Calabar and Gulf European Municipal Trade Center. Not this one. This is the report of the meeting. There is one before that. The one that has this is what it looks like. That one, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. On the 20, well, even to step back a little bit, the Calabar Gulf of Guinea Municipal Trade Center is a private sector driven project that was initiated by the organized private sector, principally of Aquadom and Cross River State at the initial. The idea here is that working under the ambit of the AFCFTA, well, I happen to be a long-standing member of NASIMA, council member. And when Nigeria was discussing whether to sign or not to sign the AFCFTA, I happened to be on the team that reviewed the treaty. And at that point, I realized, I happen to come from a private state. I realized the strategic importance of Cross River State as a port city. And also came into full awareness of the fact that the federal government of Nigeria has always seen Cross River State as a trading hub. Unfortunately for Cross Riverians, they see themselves as civil servants. Now, that is why the first free trade zone was created in Cross River, the Calabar Free Trade Zone number 1. The government of Donald Duke also identified Cross River State as a potential trading hub and created what became Tinapa. Unfortunately, Cross River State has not seen the values of these assets and has so therefore not fully realized them. But speaking from the point of view of private sector, we identified this and we began to put together the building blocks that would exploit these resources efficiently and effectively. At that point, the then Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment, Otumba Richard Adebayo, we wrote to him and communicated the vision. At that point, he then instructed the federal ministry to send an initial forward team to come and evaluate these assets we were speaking about. That team came and submitted a report afterwards. After that, he invited us as the Calabar. This was being driven then as the Calabar Chamber of Commerce. At that point in time, I was the deputy president. So he now invited us, after the report was submitted, he invited us for a meeting. We made some presentations. And at the end of that, he saw the need to establish an interministerial committee to drive this process. And that interministerial committee, that's the letter that was sent to us, informing us, and it also gave us TORs. And if you can scroll down so that we can get to the TORs. Further. Now that's the list of the membership at the inauguration. But if you scroll further to the TORs, these were our terms of reference. If I may read so that we all follow through, I'll just read it off from my screen. This is closer. Our terms of reference. First, the committee has the mandate to deliver the following terms of reference. Come up with modalities for the establishment of the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea Municipal and Trade Center as a designated trade hub for cold chain and trading into and out of the Gulf of Guinea trade. The Gulf of Guinea. The Gulf of Guinea is defined as ECOWAS and ECAS put together. So we have 26 countries in all, and so that's the Gulf of Guinea. Review and adapt existing sector-relevant policies. Identify strategies as well as relevant structures, organizations, key to the implementation of the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea Municipal and Trade Center project and bring them in for efficiency. Create necessary incentives to encourage patronage of the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea by operators of customs-bonded terminals and the inland dry ports in order to decongest the western ports in Nigeria. Facilitate necessary regulatory approvals for effective management of an international trade center. Develop sharing and contribution formula by relevant stakeholders, countries involved, federal, state, and local governments, as well as the private sector. Seek for means of mobilizing funds for the successful implementation of the objectives of the project from stakeholders, international organizations, federal and state governments, and financial institutions. Projecting the activities of the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea Municipal and Trade Center through promotion of trade and investment among stakeholders, development partners, through sensitization, workshops, and seminars. Mobilize the organized private sector and other stakeholders to key into the project. Design measures to monitor and evaluate the project's development process from start to finish. Develop frameworks for required negotiations, facilitation, and standardization of goods and services. Periodically convene high-powered stakeholder meetings between the parties and other persons or authority whose role and functions may be necessary for the effective management of the project. So these are TORs. Okay, these documents can be shared virtually with everybody. Okay, so these are our TORs. Now, going forwards, Ayo, if you can go to the next presentation, which is the let me read the cover page. It's called the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea Municipal and Trade Center, Nigeria's holistic answer to mainstreaming intra-African trade. Looks like this. There are two of these presentations. Yes, that one. So this is purely a holistic picture to give us all, because at the initial, I can't remember any of the places I've seen in here. We're not there at the inauguration. So maybe apart from the Nigerian Shippers Council, but everybody else seems to be new. So I'll walk us through the holistic project, and I'll just speak to the slides. You can read them up later. Next slide, please. Let me work from here since it's easier. Okay. So the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and its potential benefits. I think you skipped a few slides. Yeah, that one. The African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and its potential benefits to SMEs. The essence of this is that the Calabar Gulf of Guinea is principally looking at the SMEs, okay, because they are the ones that need to be aggregated. A Dangote can fill a ship, 20 ships of his cargo. So he doesn't have logistics challenges. He can charter his ship and he can go wherever he wants to go. Okay. But the SMEs, they have smaller packages because they don't have volume. Okay. They face a lot of logistical challenges because there isn't a proper structure for intra-African trade. And this is colonial issues, but let's not go there for today. Okay. So they have all kinds of problems trading, okay? And historically, intra-African trade has not been encouraged, especially by colonials, because it did not favor their trade. Okay, so the colonials did everything using, with all due respect, customs or gendarmes to prevent the South-South trade, because the guy in Liverpool wanted to trade with the guy in Hamburg using African commodities. So they needed to prevent Africa trading with Africa. And that vestige of colonization carried on way beyond independence. Okay, until the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement came into being, where the dismantling of that structure has just begun. So this is a bit forward-looking in looking at being able to leverage on the treaty and then build a structure that is focused at facilitating trade between small businesses in Nigeria with small businesses in Angola, and providing the logistical solution, whether land, sea, or air, and providing the consolidation, providing the standardization, providing all the things that they need for international trade. Now, so that's the essence of this. Next slide, please. So, advantages: increased efficiency, specialization of countries based on comparative and competitive advantages, potential end to monopolies, lower prices for goods and services, increased variety in the choices available for goods and services. Then let's now take those are the advantages. Let's now take the disadvantages. Sorry, my glasses are a bit okay. Sorry. Better. Potential disadvantages of free trade could be the possibility of job losses, primarily in the lowest levels of the labor value chain, i.e. the unskilled. And unskilled being here, the as efficiency grows, mechanization comes in. So the guy without the skill has to acquire a skill or he's left behind. Okay, so everybody skills up. Okay, in a situation like this, everybody skills up. So as trade barriers are eliminated, certain goods may be cheaper to obtain from other member states than hitherto domestically. Nigerian customs will speak to this pretty well, but that's the realities are. With free trade, efficiency. If I'm more efficient than you in the production of what you're wearing, I'll take your records. It's as simple as that. So everyone needs to skill up. Okay, and Nigeria, speaking very honestly, is the market for Africa. We are also in West and Central Africa, we also have the highest productive capacity in terms of manufacturing. Okay, so if we structure ourselves properly, the AFCFTA will be breakfast for us in any sector you want to look at. But it requires organization, it requires structure, okay, and it requires process. Now, predatory pricing. Okay, predatory pricing, I'm sure we know what predatory pricing is, which is where a guy forcefully depresses the cost, the selling price of a good to take people out of the market. Okay, now there are measures with which you can use to balance those type of things out. So there are mitigants that can control all of this. But let's identify the challenges, the disadvantages. Increased vulnerability to non-domestic external pressures. Because we're a single market, you know, they say a butterfly bats its wings in China and there's an earthquake in America, or vice versa, because we're interconnected. Okay, so what happens in Ghana will affect us in Nigeria. What happens in Nigeria will affect Angola. If you talk to security agencies, what's happening in Niger and in Maghreb is affecting us in Nigeria. So we are already connected. You know, and that's the reality of free trade and integration. Inefficient commercial and industrial activities will die, leading to increased social dislocations if alternative activities are not established. So if we stay inefficient, then you create a situation whereby your community, your people, your citizens lose opportunities because of the inherent inefficiency. So these are things that in Calabar Gulf believes we have solutions. Then tax troubles. For governments, state parties that are not ready to deliver value for tax revenues collected, people will migrate, industry will move. Okay, so good thing is that the current administration is addressing tax troubles. So I don't think we will see that going forward. Next slide. Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement and its potential benefits to SMEs. The African Continental, the AFCFTA is a common market to grow trade in made in Africa goods and services by reducing tariffs and non-tariff barriers to trade amongst African countries. It was created by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. It was created by the Africa Continental AFCFTA. Okay, the agreement was broken by the African Union and was signed on by 44 of its 55 member countries in Kigali, Rwanda, on March 21st, 2018. After many years of ambitious planning, the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area became effective on it now was moved to 2021. May 30th of May 2019, that's what was here. The operational phase was launched on the 7th of July 2019. And trade under the FCFTA rules commenced officially on the 1st of January 2021. As of May 2022, there are 54 signatories, of which 43, 80%, have deposited their instruments of ratification. One country, Somalia, completed its domestic ratification, but had not yet deposited their ratification with the depository by May 2020. Eritrea is the only AU member state which had not signed the agreement by 2019. This agreement initially required members to remove tariffs from 90% of goods, allowing free access to commodities. Just to read this, this is the Romanus. Sorry about that. The agreement initially requires members to remove tariffs from 90% of goods, allowing free access to commodities, goods, and services across the continent. It is the biggest trade area since the creation of the WTO in 1995. Its primary aim is to provide great opportunities to enhance industrialization in Africa, having removed tariffs and other barriers to trade in goods and services, as well as increasing intra-African investment. It is a common market of 54 out of 55 countries. This is the storage. This is the governor's representative. Let me just let you know where we are. Hello, my brother. Okay, Permanent Secretary's Office. As for the Permanent Secretary, its primary aim is to provide great opportunities to enhance industrialization in Africa, having removed tariffs and other barriers to trade in goods and services, as well as increasing intra-African investment. It is a common market of 54 out of 55 countries in Africa, with a population of 1.2 billion people and a combined gross domestic product, GDP, of more than 3.4 trillion. The United Nations Economic Commission for Africa has estimated that AfCFTA agreement will boost intra-African trade by 52.3% by 2022. Unfortunately, we are behind schedule on that. Once import duties and non-tariff barriers are eliminated. This, however, did not happen because all the various challenges articulated in this presentation, which are yet to be addressed, for which the Calabar and Gulf of Guinea President is poised to resolve. The AfCFTA agreement is said to have a potential GDP of $2.5 trillion. Next slide, please. Okay, we're already there. Okay, this is the caveat. Based on how African markets are currently structured, i.e., they are heavily dependent on colonial vestiges. This colonial structure possesses great challenges to SMEs as it constrains them from being competitive on both a regional or continental basis, thus frustrating the successful take-up of both intra- and inter-regional trading systems. The key question that comes to mind is, how can various regional economic communities resolve these challenges to ensure SME growth? The growth of SMEs will enable them effectively participate in this fledgling economic boom about to occur in Africa. Next slide. So we speak to, I don't want to delve too much into literally going through it. Let me just speak to them, and then you can read the slides later and really catch up. So the African Free Trade Area Agreement, like I said, 1.4 trillion potential. Well, within ECOWAS and ECAS, we're looking at 26 countries. We're looking at about 600 million people. We're looking at a GDP of about 1.4 trillion annually, out of which 760 billion is in non-oil trade, which is agricultural produce, industrial raw materials, principally extracted solid minerals, manufactured goods, and services. At this point, I want to just state a little bit of information that I got from NANS, the Nigerian Association of Nigerian Traders. Some time back, they did some studies. Informal trade, just two things: plastics and knitwear, boxer shorts, t-shirts, things that come out of Aba or Onitsha, come through cross-river state and go into Central Africa, and also Igbo villages. plus or minus about 50 billion per annum. But it goes out in trickles. Okay? In plastics, about 6.5 billion in trickles. Now, with all due respect, there was when the ministry came and we did a walk to Mfum border, the border with Cameroon, 46 illegal checkpoints between Calabar and Mfum. 46. Look at villages, put roadblock and collect money. Boys wake up in the morning and put roadblock and collect money. All those costs add to the cost of doing business. Okay. I come from Oron. You go to the Oron water side, all kind of craziness. You go to Mbo, all kind of craziness. You go to the Ebu fishing terminal, madness. All those things carry costs, and all those costs affect trade. So we are shooting ourselves in the foot. The AFCFTA gives us the laws, the structure to change all of that. But a structure or a law that is just sitting in a book is of no value. We've got to translate it into reality. We've got to make it impact our people. Today we have 235 million Nigerians, 65% of that under the age of 35. Most of them have nothing doing. That is why Boko Haram can recruit. That is why oil bunkering can take place. Idle minds. We have an instrument that can provide near to 100% employment for our people. Be it in agriculture, be it in manufacturing, be it in mining, legitimate income. We have the market. 600 million people. Just supply each person one toothpick a day. That's 600 million toothpicks. Let that toothpick be one kobo. It's a lot of money. It's all sitting there. It's all sitting there. And it's available for Nigeria to grab. Moving on. So, Calabar Gulf of Guinea is looking to service 50% of the market by population and approximately 41% by GDP. Calabar Gulf of Guinea proposes to provide a veritable platform that would facilitate and enable the import, substitution of goods and services produced from outside the Gulf of Guinea trade area with goods and services produced within the trade area within 10 to 15 years. The export and import value of trade within the trade area, I've said, is the market is about 500, import is about $504 billion per annum, and exports, so that's in goods. Then in services is about 162 billion in services, respectively, per annum. 5% of this is imported from outside Africa. UNCTAD Economic Development in Africa report of 2019. Now, the establishment of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area is not the ultimate, is not the utmost goal, but rather a means to an end. It is principally designed to move us towards the actualization of Africa's Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. This is Africa's blueprint and master plan for transforming Africa into a global powerhouse of the future. Its aim is to create a single liberated market for goods and services, contribute to the movement of capital and natural persons, promote sustainable and inclusive socio-economic development, expand intra-African trade, and enhance competitiveness within the continent and ultimately in the global market, as well as promoting democratic ideals. Next slide. Okay. Create the single market, we've spoken to that. Agenda 2063, we've spoken to that. In this case, the movement of capital. Okay, let me just touch on that briefly. The contribute to the movement of capital, natural persons, and facilitate investments, building on the initiatives and developments by state parties and regional economic communities. In this case, between the state parties and the organized private sector of the Calabar Gulf of the Guinea trade area. Virtually, we have some of my collaborators from East Africa that are looking to trading services. After the tea break, when I'm speaking to our journey thus far, I'll bring them into it. But we're already working across regions. Next slide, please. So, as we know, the regional economic communities are the building blocks of the AFCFTA. So ECOWAS and ECAS. Now, through the facilitation of the ministry, we have engaged very well with the ECOWAS Commission. And at this point, I want to give exceptional appreciation to the Nigerian permanent representative to the ECOWAS Commission, Ambassador Nuhu, who has been wonderful in facilitating our engagements with the ECOWAS Commission. I have made presentations to the ECOWAS Commission president, who was represented by the Commissioner for Trade, for Agriculture. Sorry? Yes. We've done those presentations to the ECOWAS Commission, and the ECOWAS Commission have undertaken that as we move this project to the regional level, they will facilitate the interaction with ECAS. So, the building blocks are in place. So next slide, please. So that we don't take up too much. Okay. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Current challenges of growth in Africa in the context of the FCFTA. Next slide. I'll just speak to a few things, then we'll move on. Like I said, this will be available. Small and medium-scale enterprises are largely viewed as the engine room of any nation's economic growth and are regarded as the actual vehicle that propels development globally. In Africa, SMEs are the key drivers of economic growth, poverty eradication. They strengthen and enhance the development of our various national economies. Although SMEs are regarded as the goose that lays the golden egg for development, employment, and technological advancement in Africa, challenges encountered by them in the area of intra-regional trades significantly constrain their growth. These challenges include, but are not limited to, constrained access to well-priced financing, poor or non-existent trade facilitation, infrastructural facilities, poor trade logistics, as well as poor to non-existent utility infrastructure, utility power, water, waste management. Multiplicity of overlapping regulatory agencies, an overbearing and frustrating operating environment, cross-border transaction settlement problems. PAPS is dealing with that. They've progressed pretty well. Restricted market access, non-tariff barriers, lack of skills in international trade, lack of good understanding of existing and available bureaucratic dispute resolution mechanisms. With the implementation of the FCFT agreement, the challenges posed to SMEs become even more conspicuous, as SMEs will be unable to partake in the benefits that this agreement portends if these key 7 challenges listed above are not resolved expeditiously. Note, the Caravan Gulf of Guinea has been created to address all these challenges in one fell swoop. Next slide. Yeah. Okay. These are various challenges. I'll just touch on maybe 1 or 2 per slide so that we can move on. Cross River State and indeed Calabar, simply by its location, is ideally positioned to be the transshipment hub for West and Central Africa in the immediate and near term, with repurposing of the Tinapa Resort and Free Trade Zone by the Caravan Gulf of Guinea. We shall position Cross River State as the manufacturing and logistics hub for the Gulf of Guinea trade area. At this point, I'd like to call for the representative of the Secretary to the Cross River State government to give his goodwill message now that he's here. Mr. Akwaj, please, you have the floor.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ashwet, the S company business Secretary of State Government. I'm here in the capacity to represent the SLG, SGS, which has worked on other engagement in the state and couldn't make it to the street. First of all, I want to say we are so grateful that we're invited to this meeting, but this progress. No. His Excellency the Governor of Cross River State, Senator President is key into this program by approving the project to be carried out within Cross River State, Calabar. So good so far, in Cross River State, we've been able to set up the steering committee, a series of meetings, all the NDAs fully gear up to the work according to what to follow up the plans on ground. We are happy for this collaboration and feel very important that at the end of the day, we shall have positive outcomes. So on behalf of the Cross River State government, I want to say we are very ready and we are willing to give our support in every way. We want to say thank you for inviting us once again. Thank you.
Thank you. The reason why I paused there is because Tinapa is an asset of Cross River State. And it's important that we all understand that the Cross River State government is on board with this, and we are looking, I mean, they say the devil is always in the details, but, you know, in terms of working together, the meeting of minds is there, and, you know, it's a work in progress. So that's why, now, moving forward, such issues as standardization, simplification, harmonization of all regulatory agencies and functions and processes into a codified document, standard operating procedure, SOPs. These are things that we're looking to put together. The Shippers Council did a fantastic job with the port process manual. And we're looking to borrow on, I mean, actually, we had met with the immediate past ES, and we're in conversations to be able to adopt the MPPM as one of the standard operating procedures for the Caravan Gulf of Guinea. Sorry? Okay. And so those are things that we're looking at. I mean, there are lots of things that have been done in modules, but they are not necessarily properly connected. And we're looking to be able to bring all of that together to connect the dots and really get going. It's most heartwarming to see that this administration is driving hard the issue of the single window for trade. This is a key component and key strategic tool that will facilitate trade and really take away a lot of the bottlenecks. And this is something one of our partners as we speak later, Webfontaine. Webfontaine is collaborating with us in the area of this structure. They're working with us on it. So because they are really the standard for this in Africa today. And so Webfontaine is fully on board. I mean, Okwai Babalola is supposed to be either online or, but you never know with their schedules. So that's that. We've spoken to the issue of overbearing, frustrating operating environment. Those are things that we've outlined already. Next slide, please. Access to well-priced financing. Beautiful. This is something that I want to dwell a bit on. Now, the Calabar Gulf of Guinea Business and Trade Center, working with Afrexim, who hopefully would be also here. We are looking to be able to, we've identified, we've created a pipeline, potential investment pipeline of about $20 billion that will drive trade into West and Central Africa. Nigeria being the largest economy in West and Central Africa, we're looking to focus about $8 billion on Nigeria. And Cross River State being the staging ground, we are looking to focus about $2 billion in Cross River State to support these things. Now, this money we're talking about is not Nigeria's money. It's private sector money from the global market. Truth be told, in the global financial pool, concessionary funding, World Bank, blah, 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 only about 15% of the global financial pool. 85% of the money in the global financial pool is private sector money. Okay, but private sector money is very shy. So the World Bank, what they do with their money is to try and remove the bottlenecks to private sector capital flowing in. So their 15% is basically to unclog the system. Okay. The essence of this interministerial committee is an indigenous solution to that unclogging. Okay. So that working together as Nigerians, identifying the potential for our economy and our persons, because everybody in this room at one point in time will retire. When you retire, well, you may not retire because you are your own business. But most everybody will retire. All these, the public sector people will retire. And when you retire, the next your option is the private sector. Now, if we build an economy that is purpose specific to easing business activities, okay, and therefore making life easier, then everybody benefits. Now, the current minister here, the senior minister, I believe it's called, yeah, when she was in PBEC, she's very aware of this point. Because we engage on a key component of anything we're talking about is embedded in the ease of doing business. Okay, so if we are able to get the ease of doing business moving, top notch, this thing I'm talking about here disappears in terms of the challenges. Because these are the issues that ease of doing business is to address. Okay, so that's on that score. So I don't want to dwell too much on the issue of challenges because there are things happening. Okay, there are things happening that are taking away those challenges. But a key component that I just want us to understand is that as a business member organization, Calabar Gulf of Guinea, in partnership with the Afrexim Bank, is positioned to address access to capital for SMEs operating within our ecosystem with the establishment of a financial services center within the precinct of our trade hub in Calabar. I'll move on. Like I said, because we have basically dealt with all of that, so let's just move on all these challenges and a lot of detailing there about paths and all of that. So now, okay, let me just touch on this. That's on the slide that says to reduce the impact of all the earlier stated challenges on the implementation of the ACFTA, SMEs, some interventions that have been instituted at the continental level. That's slide number. The next slide. 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 Yes, there. There. So these are just some examples of some initiatives at the continental level that have been put in place. The Afro Champions Initiative for $1 trillion investment framework toward the FCFPA, enabling projects between 2020 and 2030. That's ongoing. How well it's being implemented, I'm not up to date on. The creation of an online trade area platform to enable